Hey everyone, we have Haley Dalgard on board today, telling us a little bit about her story. She is out on the West Coast and she's a fellow house hacker and realtor. Welcome aboard, Haley.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what's going on the West Coast.
Yeah, so I'm living in Sacramento. I'm actually originally from the Bay Area, but moved to Sacramento right before COVID happened. And I am currently a real estate agent. I've been a real estate agent for about 3 years now. Was previously an occupational therapist, but changed careers after I got started being interested in real estate investing. So yeah, I work as a real estate agent, but I'm also a house hacker, which I'm super passionate about. So yeah, I live in my house that I bought 3 years ago. I rent out three of my bedrooms, and I also rent out my ADU. So been house hacking the past 3 years, and it's been going pretty good.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. As we've talked before, so many people have different strategies when it comes to house hacking. So I
Mhm.
really want to dig into how you are renting out room by room and also how you were able to find a property with the ADU and see the value in that.
Yeah, for sure. So when I was looking for houses to house hack, I was just going to do the room rental strategy. I wasn't really looking for a house with an ADU, just because I know here in Sacramento, it's hard to find houses with ADUs. It's hard to find like a good multifamily property. So I was totally fine with doing room rentals, but I actually came across this really cool house that was actually on the market for like over 50 days. I think one of the reasons why it was on the market so long was that it wasn't marketed very well. It only said it had three bedrooms. It said it was only like 1,300 square feet, but with the ADU, it was a total of 2,000 square feet, and it was a for sale by owner. The sellers were like way overpricing it. So yeah, I came in with a lower offer and actually got my offer accepted. But yeah, I came into house hacking wanting to do the room rental strategy. But I just came across this really cool property that happened to have an ADU. And I was like, well, I can definitely do both. I can definitely do the room rental strategy with the main house and also rent out the ADU. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Awesome. So what kind of financing did you use to pull this deal down?
Just the conventional 5% down financing. Yeah.
Awesome. And as
Um,
far as renting out these room by rooms, what was your strategy as far as finding tenants, or I would say roommates, because these are your roommates. You're living right next to these people every day.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So originally I was just going to do long-term tenants or long-term rentals. And I was really, really eager to get people in right as I was buying my house. So when I was in escrow on my house and I didn't even close yet, I was actually in the process of trying to find roommates. So I was on like Facebook Marketplace, a few other websites, but I was getting a lot of interest on Facebook Marketplace. Um, so I was living in one room, and then I had three other bedrooms in my house that I could rent out. I was a little nervous to go all in and rent out all three at the same time just because it was so new to me and I've never done this before. So I only wanted to rent two rooms out in the beginning. And yeah, so I found two roommates on a Facebook Marketplace. Um, I was super eager to get someone in there right away, so I didn't really do a good job screening them. One roommate ended up to be terrific, but the other roommate, I think that if I did a better job of screening her and just getting to know her a little bit more, I probably wouldn't have had her be a roommate. And I ended up having to ask her to move out after a few months. So yeah, I think I just learned a lot through the process. I was just so eager to get people in my house and get my rooms rented that, yeah, I just didn't do a very good job screening. So I think you just learned a lot through that experience.
All right. So as you had to have one person move out, did she leave quietly? Was there any issues, or was she just like, okay, I kind of figured this was going to happen?
Yeah, yeah, there wasn't really any issues with her moving out. She definitely, it was, yeah, no problem with her moving out for that time. But I did have one instance when it was one of my other roommates later on, she never ended up paying rent. So she basically told me that we had a verbal lease, which I know better not to do anymore. I should always have written leases, but I guess I was just too lazy and I trusted her. And she never ended up paying me rent. And she made excuses as to why her rent was late. And I believed her. And then a few months went by and I was like, oh, she's just making excuses. She's never going to pay me rent. So that was a little awkward situation where I actually gave her, I posted a 3-day notice to pay rent or to quit on her door. And she did end up moving out after those 3 days, luckily. So I didn't have to evict her, but she didn't end up paying rent. So I missed out on rent for those few months she didn't pay rent. But so that was like my only like really bad experience with having tenants. And it's just like you have to do the simple things correctly. You have to have signed leases with all your tenants. Like those little things are really important. And I learned that through experience.
Yeah, so now all your tenants moving forward, I'm sure you're making sure everybody's signing leases, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like the first thing I do.
So
Very
so
strict about it.
tell me a little bit more about your pre-screening. What are you looking for in a roommate? Because these people are living with you. So-
Yeah, so originally I was going to do all long-term tenants, but um now so I have two long-term tenants. One has been there I think over a year, and another one's been there I think maybe about 8 to 10 months, and they're both been great. So I hope they stay. Um and then I actually with my third bedroom, I turned it into a medium-term rental. So I furnished it, and I have people stay there for like 30 days at a time. So I guess to answer your question about how I screen tenants, for my long-term tenants, it's been a while since I've had to do this, but I kind of learned to get to ask them questions, like open-ended questions to get to know them as people and like what their daily habits are. Because we're going to be spending, sharing a lot of space in the common areas. I just want to get a really good idea of what their habits are, how clean they are, um, how social they are of a person. I know that kind of sounds weird, but I preferred my house to be, pretty quiet. I think if I was younger, I would want to have more roommates to socialize with. But now that I'm older, and focusing more on my career, I, value like a more quiet professional household. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that the people I was sharing my space with, were, had those similar values. So yeah, just kind of really spending the time to get to try to get a good picture of what it would be like sharing spaces with them. Like, are they pretty quiet? Would they stay in their rooms most of the time? Are they the people to want to have a lot of friends over? Are they easy to communicate with? And you just kind of have to go with your gut. And I think that's what I didn't do the first time. I was just so eager to get someone in there that I didn't really pay attention to my gut feeling. Um, but I think that's kind of what you have to do. But in order to get to that point, you have to, ask those questions to get a good understanding of what they're like or what they're going to be like as roommates.
Cool. So with your midterm rental room, do you post that on Airbnb, Furnish Finder? Where do you post that?
Yeah, both those two,
Okay.
both Airbnb and Furnish Finder. Yeah, I
Okay.
think yeah, those are great websites. I think I've had a little bit more luck on Airbnb, but they've both been good. I've had people from both websites, so yeah.
So how do you market that on those websites to let people know that there is three other people living in this house with you? So,
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, I state that in the listing. And so funny thing you're asking me this because just recently I got my first, like I would say, less than optimal rating on Airbnb. And I think largely it had to do with the fact that my guest didn't read the listing description very properly. In her rating, she mentioned something like not realizing that there was a shared bathroom. Um, and so like my roommate at the time happened to have a couple of guests over during the weekends, so that the bathroom was occupied for extended periods of time. And I think that was like the basis of her less than optimal rating that she gave me on Airbnb. So yeah, I just think that like you have to state that and you try to set people's expectations up front with the listing. But unfortunately, not everybody, I think, reads that, to be honest,
Yeah.
which can be a little bit frustrating. And that's just what I experienced just recently for the first time. So I'm actually trying to decide if I should convert that medium-term rental into a long-term rental to try to avoid something like that happening again. So yeah, because I only have one bathroom in my house with four other rooms. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's been going pretty well. That was just my first bad experience just recently.
Okay. And then you have your ADU, and that's long term as well?
So it used to be a long-term rental for the first 2 years, and then my roommate moved out, and so I thought it was a good opportunity to try medium-term rentals. So yeah, so I furnished it, put it on Airbnb and Furnish Finder, and now it's a medium-term rental, and it's going pretty good.
Perfect. Yeah, that seems way more optimal for a medium term rental than
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I find
trying.
that a
Yeah.
lot of people with medium-term rentals, they want their own space, so
Yeah.
it's been
Cool.
nice.
So what's the difference in rent? Like if you turn this back into a long term compared to midterm, what are you making the difference?
Yeah, for the ADU. So, with the ADU, it's a one bedroom, about 700 square feet, and I was getting about 1650, including utilities for the long-term rental. And I've been getting 2000 as a medium-term rental. But when I've had it on Airbnb and Furnish Finder for the first time, I was getting like a lot of interest. So when my tenant moves out next, I'm going to try to increase the rent to maybe 2100 because I think the demand is there.
Okay.
So
Um, so what about for the room that you're midterm renting in your house? What's the difference in rent?
okay,
Yeah, that one too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So um, as a long term, I would probably get about 900, and for a medium term, I've only been asking for 1050. Um, So it's not a huge difference. I think that if I had more bathrooms and we didn't have to share bathrooms with so many people, I'd probably charge more for that. And if it was in a slightly better location, like my house is still in a pretty good like location, but if it was a lot closer to like a bigger hospital, I would probably charge more for that medium term rental. But I just know that with medium term rentals, the vacancy is really important because people normally only stay for about like 1 to 3 months at a time. And it's not going to be worth it, even though you get the extra or get more rental income. It's not going to be worth it if your vacancy periods are too long. Because with a long-term tenant, there's going to be less vacancy. So um, I think what I'm trying to say is that the yeah, you really just have to price your room competitively just to decrease the chances of it being vacant for a long time.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it sounds like you're leaning towards putting that back into a long-term rental. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I
if
think
it,
I'm still trying to like get over that not great
yeah.
review on Airbnb, so we'll see.
So here'd be the next question. If you turn that back into a long-term rental and didn't do the midterm living anymore, what do you do with all your furniture that you put in that room?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think what I would first try to do is try to find someone who's willing to live there for a longer period of time, but keep the furniture in there.
Okay.
Kind of like what happened with my other room. So my other room, it used to be a midterm rental. So I used to have two medium-term rentals, but someone actually reached out to me on Airbnb and asked if she could move in as a long-term rental because she liked that it was furnished, but she wanted to stay for a couple years while she went to school. So I think I would try that again. I would try to keep the furniture in there, but also try to find someone who, wanted the furniture but was willing to stay longer.
Okay. Yeah. That would work great. I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
I would try it. Yeah.
storing furniture after I've had an Airbnb fall apart in the past, and trying to
Okay.
store an entire house of furniture is not always easy unless you want to pay for a storage unit every single month. So,
Yeah, exactly. Probably not worth it.
yeah. So another thing, are you in the office right now or are you at your house?
I'm at my home office.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Do you go into work at all as a realtor or you do everything from your house?
I do, I would say like 95% of the office work at my house.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's jump into you being a realtor and house hacking. You really don't have a like 9 to 5 job that you have to go into all the time. How do you keep yourself occupied and not just occupied, but on a schedule?
Ooh, that's hard. I feel like there's always something to do when you're a real estate agent. There's always something to do. If you feel like you don't have anything to do, you're wrong because one of the most important things as a real estate agent is to, talk to people, ask if they're, interested in buying a house and everything like that. So the scheduling part, it's like a blessing and a curse because it's really flexible. I can schedule like when I want to work, like largely like myself. But at the other hand, it's hard because then you feel like you're always working. So in the past, I've tried to tell myself that I'm going to stop working at like, 6 p.m. So I don't have to worry about, try not to get as stressed during the evenings and everything, but it's not always easy. It's something I struggle with, to be
Yeah,
honest. I feel like I'm not good at like turning my phone off or, just always stopping work at a particular time. So it's something I actually have to get better at, but I can't complain. Being a real estate agent can be pretty flexible. So if you have to do like another obligation during the week, you normally can. So it has its pluses and minuses.
yeah, definitely. I know personally when I left my job, the hardest part now is not starting slow in the mornings. How are you with that? How are you in the mornings?
Yeah, so right now I'm getting up early to work out in the mornings. And so that's really helped me actually wake up at a particular time.
Yeah,
Because if I didn't, and my workouts, they're group workout classes that start at a particular time. So I have to set my alarm, and it makes me want to get up in the morning. But if I didn't have those, workout classes to go to, I would probably sleep in too much.
yeah.
So I think it's really smart to have, like a really good reason, like to help motivate you to get out of bed at a, earlier than rather than later. So
Right. It's you're like holding yourself accountable. And yes, there's other people there, so they're not holding you accountable, but it kind of almost feels like they are. You're like scheduling that to be
yeah,
there, right?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Working out's
So,
important to me, so
well,
it really
yeah, I
gets
mean I mean it's going to keep you healthier, it's going to keep you more active, it's going to keep you just your body just feeling better, which is going to come out in your work as well. So,
oh yeah, for sure. Totally all related.
s-
100%.
so tell us a little bit. You have a few things going on with your local like investment groups and teaching and helping other people get into house hacking. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I've always really, really liked going to all the real estate meetups here in Sacramento. Like, there's some really good ones, and they're all always really packed. So, I really enjoy going to those meetups and meeting other like-minded people. It's really, really been fun. And then, about a year ago, I started to now help host a women's meetup, just for women. So that's been really, really fun to be a part of that. Um, I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Um,
Oh, the courses, I think you
yes,
mentioned,
yeah.
like house hacking. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really passionate about house hacking. And yeah, a lot of my clients are also house hackers themselves. So super passionate about that, passionate about like educating others about house hacking, the benefits, like how to pick the right house hack property for yourself. So just a few months ago, I started teaching a free webinars, or I call them workshops, online about house hacking and first time homebuyer workshops too, because I just wish more people would house hack. I think it's one of the best ways to build wealth, and yeah, I'm just really passionate about it. So, yeah, I really enjoy teaching those classes.
And about how long do those classes run or workshops?
Yeah, they're about an hour. So they're
Okay.
every first Tuesday of the month, via Zoom. So yeah, just about an hour. And I just call it like House Hacking 101. Kind of explain what house hacking is, why you should house hack, kind of comparing like house hacking to maybe other real estate strategies or like investing out of state. Because that's the boat I was in. I was trying to decide whether or not I should buy a property here in California as a primary residence, or I should buy like a lower priced home out of state, because I know that can be enticing with the lower purchase prices, easier to cash flow. So I go into like the differences between those two and why house hacking in California can be a great option. And I also talk about the profit and comfort spectrum and how you can use that spectrum to determine what type of house hack's best for you. And then, I mean, the course is for anyone in the whole country, but I also talk about like the Sacramento market and why like multifamily properties are here to house hack, and kind of go into more detail about room rentals, and yeah, just give a case study about my own house hack and just really explain the benefits of house hacking. So yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. So, if you don't mind, would you like to share the numbers on your house hack and how it's turning out for you?
Yeah, for sure. So as I said when I started, I wanted to keep one bedroom empty. So like the first year, first 2 years, I largely kept that one room empty, so my numbers weren't as good. Also, there's like I wasn't there was more vacancy between my medium term rentals just because I didn't get my systems down 100%. But this third year, so the year 2023, is when I did a lot better. Like my vacancy was very low. I didn't have any problems with, tenants not paying rent. I converted that long term to a medium term rental. So my third year was a lot better. I ended up getting $50,000 or just over $50,000 in rental income, and just in 2023. So I thought that was a pretty big success for myself for sure.
Yeah, and this is a one single family house with a ADU, and you pulled
Yeah.
in gross over $50,000.
Yes.
Wow. So, what is your PITI on this property every month?
Well, I don't want to tell people this because,
Okay.
well, I will say it just because my interest rate is super low. I bought it 3 years ago. I have a 2.6% interest rate.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So yeah, my PITI is just over $2,900. So
Yeah, you're killing it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so
Cash flowing.
awesome.
I'm making money while I live here.
Yes. And it's not for everyone, but you've obviously figured out what you're willing to sacrifice because you're obviously sacrificing so much living with four other people.
Mhm.
But it has its benefits as the fact that you are having somebody pay your whole house down and you're
Yes.
still living there. So,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think it's so worth it. Like I said, I just wish more people would do it. I don't think it's as hard as you might think, though, like sharing space with that many people. I think a lot of people, like I actually, I polled a lot of people on my Instagram. I asked what's like the number one thing that's keeping people from house hacking, and the number one response I got was having to share space with other people, and that was just surprising to me, just because in my experience it really hasn't been that hard. I just think like the benefits I get from it far outweigh the negatives. um, so yeah, I mean, with anything in life, you have to be willing to sacrifice something in order to like reap the rewards of it. So yeah, I made like a good amount of money, but I did have to sacrifice some comfort along the way. So yeah, I would definitely say I'm more on that profit side of the spectrum when it comes to house hacking. Um, yeah, I'm more on the profit side, which means I'm sacrificing a lot more comfort. But it's okay if you're not like that. You're still house hacking if you rent out just one or two bedrooms in your house. That just means that you're more on that comfort side. You just want to be a little bit more comfortable. That just means you're not going to make as much profit. But I think that if you're willing to be a little uncomfortable, at least in the short term, it could really benefit you from later on. So
Definitely. And another big thing that's been hitting the news a lot lately, and it's not such a big deal when it comes to house hacking is squatters' rights. I mean, if you constantly have somebody in your house and
yeah.
you're living there, you're not going to have to worry about squatters.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot less likely if someone's going to stay in your house with their lease ending or whatnot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Or,
know
or
that,
you know,
yeah, I know that keeps a lot of people from being landlords is that they're scared of squatters. But yeah, house hacking, I think that's so true. It would be so awkward.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's easier, I think, for the squatter to go find a vacant house and try to pull it off than trying to
Yeah,
squat in a house with, three or four other people living there too. So,
exactly, exactly. And then
yeah.
one of the other great things about house hacking is that like if you rent out multiple rooms, you might have a squatter in one room, but you could still get rental income from like the three other bedrooms. So
Right.
it's not as detrimental if it was like a whole single family house you're renting out.
Yeah. And the awkward part of I've dealt with posting a 3-day notice on a door in your own house is probably one of the most awkward things to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. I mean, you definitely deal with awkward moments, but they
yeah,
make you stronger as a person, so it's all good.
definitely. And I mean, you're teaching yourself how to be a landlord living in your house. So
Yeah.
I think it's really
Yeah.
beneficial to a lot of people that want to get started in investing to start. Most people don't. And like you
Mhm.
almost did, is investing out of state. If you would have started that way, you probably wouldn't have been anywhere near as successful. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I wouldn't have had that property management experience, and I wouldn't have bought a property in an appreciating market like Sacramento. So
yeah.
happy I did it.
All right, Haley, is there anything you want to leave our audience with, mainly house hacking focused, if for that new investor that's thinking about it and trying to figure out what they want to do in their investment journey?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I think house hacking is one of the best ways to get started in starting investing in real estate. Even if you don't want to like invest a ton in real estate, you're still going to reduce your mortgage payments by a lot. And if that just means that you're able to buy a house, I would totally do it because the wealth benefits of even owning just one house are really, really great. So, yeah, I guess my advice to people wanting to house hack would be one, if you're nervous about sharing spaces with people, just know it's not as bad as it seems. And there's different ways to increase your comfort. Like you could potentially convert like a master bedroom into its own little studio if it has a room or a door leading to the outside. You can just be creative and find different ways to find comfort. And then my other piece of advice would be I think some people are nervous about house hacking just because maybe they haven't heard about it or like the people they surround themselves with don't really have the same values or don't really understand what house hacking is. So I'd really encourage those people to go to their local real estate meetups and just meet with other people who have the same goals as themselves, because that can really, really be helpful. And then I think you'll realize that there is a lot of other people out there like yourself who do want to build wealth and don't mind giving up some of their comfort in order to do so. So yeah, I would highly recommend going to the local real estate meetups.
Yeah, that is a great tip. So, where can people find you if they wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Haley_house hacker. So it's HALEY_house hacker.
Awesome. And I'll throw that in the description of this video as well.
Okay.
Um, I don't know how much you watch YouTube or listen to podcasts, but do you have a favorite podcast or channel?
Bigger Pockets was super instrumental in my real estate investing journey. So yeah, I'll just shout out Bigger Pockets. They have a few different podcasts. I really like the main podcast and the rookie podcast are both great. yeah, I just listened to Bigger Pockets and read their books. And I mean, that was like my main education when it comes to real estate investing.
Awesome. I was about to let you go, but we didn't even touch on, speaking of bigger pockets, a big name that you kind of started with in as a realtor. You gotta talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit.
So I work for the David Green team. So David Green is the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast. So yeah, it's been a really, really good experience learning from David and from the rest of the members on the team. But it's also been really cool because I'm so passionate about house hacking. I've gotten to work with a lot of other house hackers wanting to find house hack properties. So a lot of people will listen to that podcast wanting to invest in real estate and wanting to house hack. So it's been a really cool experience getting to work with those people who have the same goals as myself.
Awesome. Well, Haley, thank you so much for spending the time and coming on and talking today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was fun.